I mean, I really believe like, and we tell our girls is that life can be whatever you want it to be, but like you're responsible for making it happen. And so don't play, the victim card for, what life is or what life isn't, cause like ultimately it's in your hands. And so, when I look at, our life together, like we have a great life. We have a successful business, we have a successful marriage, we have great kids. My wife homeschools the girls. We take a lot of trips. We have good relationships. We're checking a lot of boxes in life, and I think that we have a really great setup. But it's not because like, I don't know, man. It's not because like we won the lotto or because we made this one decision and that changed everything. It's just like, no, like day after day after day, like we have to keep showing up. If I stop being a good husband today, like things start to fall apart. If I check out on my kids, like I don't have a good relationship with them. If I tune out of the business, like the business starts to struggle, so I think just having an intentionality with that. And sometimes that means making decisions counter to what, you feel like is expected of you. Okay. So for example, when, like I mentioned, I went to Bible college, was a youth pastor for a little while. And then I decided like, I want to be a speaker, and being a speaker wasn't one of those things like I saw on the job menu when I went to college. Here I was going like, okay, I want to, do something that's kind of different than what I went to school for. I remember when I left this job as a youth pastor, I talk about this a lot in the book, that my wife was pregnant with our first child, and she was like 4 or 5 months pregnant, and I didn't have like some other career lined up or some business I was going to. And I remember my mom telling us a couple of years ago, she was like, I legitimately thought you were going to have to move in with me. And like, what are you guys thinking here? Whenever we decided to homeschool our daughters, that was something that, again, we started 10, 11 years ago or so. And so at the time there wasn't a ton of people that were homeschooling. We didn't know a ton of people. We knew it was going to be, I had lunch with someone a couple of days ago, and they were asking about homeschool. And I said, it's a lot of work, because I was like, man, if all of our kids were in school right now, then my wife and I we could go on a lunch date every day. We could hang out together, right? But like, the kids are here all the time. And so it requires a lot more work, and it requires a lot more effort. Whenever one of the girls is they're stuck on some math problem, and they get frustrated, right? It's not like, well, that's the teacher at school's problem, right? It's like, no, like we got to help push through this, and then we got to help figure this out. And so there's certainly parts where it's like, it requires more effort. It requires more work. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it. And so I think just, we've always been really, really intentional about what kind of life do we want to have. One other quick example is like, we really enjoy travel. Like we take a lot of trips each year, and they're not like, crazy, extravagant, extraordinary trips or anything, but like just travel has always been important to us. And so we prioritize that. Whereas we may not spend money on other things, but like, okay, we really want to do some cool trips and experiences, the things that we're going to remember as a family. And it's just something we've prioritized. So we've built life that way, rather than just going like, oh, it'd be cool to travel someday, or, I wish we had more freedom. Or, I wish I could start a business, or I wish we could home. And it's like, you can do any of those things, but you got to decide and then figure out like, what's the thing that what are the steps that you need to take in order to get there. And so I think we are, I think today we reap a lot of the benefits of decisions that we've made years ago, and have continued to make those decisions to, have a great life today.
Yeah, one of the common themes I'm picking up from you, Grant, is just like, things don't happen overnight. You got to put in the work. You got to stay consistent with your message. If you're going to be a speaker, you're going to make a difference in the world and make an impact. You got to show up as a great husband. You got to show up as a great father every single day, right? And you're reaping the rewards of decisions that you've been making for the last decade or 2 decades. And so if you're listening to this and you're just getting started, start today, start now, right?
Yeah.
Start living intentionally. I'm curious about, there's a lot of parents who watch the show. Homeschooling, I'm sensing that a lot more people are picking up on this trend. I'm curious, from your perspective, why did you decide to go that route? And yeah, what's that really about for you and your family, and what's it been like?
Yeah, it was something that we were always kind of intrigued by. And again, like if we go back, 10 plus years ago or so, we didn't really know anyone who was homeschooling. There's kind of there's probably some truth to the stereotype of like anybody that we knew that was homeschooling. You're like, I don't know if I want my kids to turn out like that. So there's kind of like, all right, how can we do this or do this well? And ultimately it was really a decision in large part for my wife. So our oldest daughter did kindergarten and first grade in public school. We had a great experience. We were like I mentioned, we were travel. We like to travel, and so we wanted to we really value autonomy, freedom, flexibility. And so when your life is just dictated by the school calendar, for many, many, many years, like, boy, that just sucks. And so we're like, okay, if we are going to homeschool, what does that even look like? What are the requirements of that? And because I was at the time, I was speaking full time, I was on the road a lot. It was really like, okay, and my wife would have to be the one that owns this and kind of leads this and drives this. And so that's been the case, from the beginning. So she, when I talk about we homeschool, like it's her, she's doing 99% of it. And I'm the awkward PE teacher who just wants to make out with the principal. And we kind of know our roles with that and have made it work. But a big reason is like the freedom, the flexibility, the autonomy, and in a couple ways. So, for example, we're recording this late September when the rest of the world is in school. Well, a couple weeks ago, we spent a week and a half in Hawaii, and so we don't do a lot of travel during the summer when everybody else travels. We wait till everybody goes to school, and then we're like, all right, we out. And so, well, that's when we try to have some more freedom and flexibility. When we've done some trips with a couple friends and neighbors and whose kids are in school, and like, okay, we've got this 3-day fall break window, or here's where football practice starts and this is when this thing ends, and so we can do it this day or this day. And I'm just like, golly, like that sucks. Like, just it's helpful to have a lot more like kind of freedom and flexibility of when, where, how we're gonna do life. So that's one thing. Another thing I think that's been valuable is I've been self-employed for about 17 years now, and so I really, I would love for my girls to do something entrepreneurial. If they don't, that's not the end of the world at all. But as an entrepreneur, like you get to kind of decide the rules of the game. And so I think they've seen me have a lot of freedom, flexibility, and autonomy with life. And when dad works, when doesn't work, and I still I treat this very much like I show up early, I get my work done. We tell the girls all the time, like, work comes before play, and so I got to get some stuff done before we can play. But I've got the flexibility with that. And so I remember early on, this was like one of the first years that my wife was homeschooling the girls, and our two older daughters said, "Hey, if we do tomorrow's work today, does that mean we can play more tomorrow?" We're like, "Yes," because like that's the way it is, and for me in life, right? And so this idea of you go to school from 9 to 3 or 8 to 3 or whatever for Monday through Friday for 13 years of life, just because that's the way it's always been done. And the same thing with work is just like, I got my 9 to 5 Monday through Friday for the next 50 years.